Chapter 11, the scene of her standing with her back to the light is as beautiful as a painting. What suitor? Yang Zhueling was curious. You know what? I just saw a man talking to Chen Chen on the first floor of the hotel. Didn't you see the way he looked at Chen Chen? Wu Jiasun paused and continued, like a wolf seeing a little rabbit, you understand. Oh? Yang Zhueling tossed the ice cubes in the cup, raised her eyebrows and looked at Liang Chen, waiting for her to explain. Liang Chen spread his hands and said, she just loves to imagine things. Then he looked at Wu Jiasun and said, you're in trouble now because you accepted someone else's card. Believe it or not, if you don't accept it, the restaurant manager will wait until you accept the card before leaving. Wu Jiasun said with a smile. Chen Chen, what are you going to do? Although Yang Zhueling had never seen the top quality that Wu Jiasun mentioned, she could already feel that this man was very cunning. Treating her to a meal and giving her a consumption card were just attempts to create an opportunity for Chen Chen to date her next time. Yes, you haven't told me how you two met. Tell the truth. Wu Jiasun could no longer suppress her curiosity. Liang Chen briefly told them how the two of them knew each other. Fate. It's definitely fate. Wu Jiasun said excitedly. Chen Chen has a lot of romantic opportunities every year, so don't make a fuss. Yang Zhueling was not as excited as she was. After hearing what Liang Chen said and the attitude of the restaurant manager just now, she knew that Mr. Mo was either rich or noble. She had never met such a person, so she couldn't judge whether he was hunting for beauties or pursuing them. But it was obvious that she felt Liang Chen had no feelings for him. Lingling, this time is different. You didn't see him in person just now. This kind of man is the kind of man who dresses with taste and can flirt when taking off his clothes. He is different from the previous ones. Wu Jiasun is now a spectator, watching the crowd without any hesitation. Wu Jiasun, I find that you are becoming more and more obscene. You even imagine what would happen if someone took off their clothes. Yang Zhueling despised Wu Jiasun's extremely vulgar remarks. You didn't see his inverted triangle figure. You can tell at first glance that he's a top-notch guy. He's different from those gay guys with beer bellies or weird looks in the gym. Wu Jiasun refuted vividly. I saw that when you were teaching male members, you must have taken advantage of them under the guise of teaching. Yang Zhueling poked Wu Jiasun's forehead with her finger. Wu Jiasun pushed her fingers away and turned to ask Liang Chen, Chen Chen, are you going to take this? I can tell he's not someone who can be easily dismissed. But I'm more curious about your attitude. In fact, she also had her own selfish motives. After her friend's first love ended in college, she never fell in love again. And she always thought that it was because her friend couldn't get over the shadow of a broken heart, because she hadn't met a man who made her feel something, not because her first love was so unforgettable. Liang Chen smiled, then calmed down and said seriously, you are the one who took his spending card. I will give you his phone number later. If you are interested, contact him yourself. Wu Jiasun took out her cell phone, pretending to record the phone number, and said with a smile, you tell me, I'll contact him and tell him all your personal information. Maybe he'll give me more than just one spending card. Yang Zhueling twisted Wu Jiasun's ear and said, you betrayed your friend for food. Then she took the consumption card from Wu Jiasun's hand and gave it to Liang Chen. Chen Chen, what should I do with this card? I know you must have a way. At this point, Liang Chen had no choice but to put the card away, but she had not yet figured out what to do with it. Wu Jiasun and Yang Zhueling played around for a while, and then the three of them left the restaurant. Before leaving the restaurant, Wu Jiasun went to the restaurant manager again and said a few words. Yang Zhueling asked her what she said, but she refused to say anything, which made Yang Zhueling twist her ear again. At 10 p.m., Liang Chen had just finished her shower and was about to blow dry her hair when she heard a WeChat notification on her phone. She opened it and saw that it was Wu Jiasun who had sent a voice message and a video file to the group of three of them. Liang Chen clicked on it. Chen Chen, do you know? The background of Mr. Mo, who invited us today, is not simple. He is the president of Huanyu Investment and a powerful person in Pengcheng. I asked my media friends for a video of him. Take a look. Liang Chen held her forehead with her hand, her good friend's gossipy potential was fully utilized. Liang Chen clicked on the video. In the video, the man sat in the interview room wearing a simple white shirt and black pants. He faced the camera with a calm expression and his thick long eyebrows relaxed. He answered questions from people around him fluently. His words were simple and he was very frugal with words, but every word he spoke carried an aura of authority without anger. Even through the phone screen,李漾晨could feel the powerful aura coming from him. Last question, Mr. Mo is still single now, right? What kind of girls do you like? The man seemed to raise his eyebrows slightly, and after a moment he said calmly, it depends on fate. After watching the video,李漾晨was about to send a message to the WeChat group when his phone indicated that there was an incoming call. I glanced at the caller ID and saw it was Mo. The phone rang for a long time. When it was about to hang up automatically,李漾晨pressed the answer button and said, "Hello." It probably rang for a long time but no one answered. I suddenly picked it up, but there was no response from the other end. After a long while, a voice came out, "Ms. Lee, did you enjoy your meal today?" The voice is mellow and magnetic.李漾晨plucked the hair beside his ear and said, "Thank you Mr. Mo for the dinner today. We rarely go there to eat, and we can't use our consumption card, so I..." Before李漾晨finished speaking, Mo interrupted, "Miss Lee, you're welcome. I actually need your help with something." "Need help?"李漾晨paused. She really didn't think that as a teacher, she could help a businessman. She still asked, "What is it?" "Ms. Lee, school hasn't started yet, right? A few more days. How about this, I'll make some arrangements in the next few days and contact you then. It's getting late, go to bed early." After hanging up the phone,李漾晨frowned, realizing that he had been tricked by him. He couldn't pay back the card, and in the end he didn't figure out what help he needed. In the WeChat group, Cherry Ngan also watched the video posted by Karina Ng and expressed her opinion. "So it's this Mo, probably over 34. A man of this age, with money and good looks, may be able to charm a lot of women without any effort, but this type of man usually has a story as deep as his charm. I don't think he's suitable for Chen. Ling, how do you know if he is suitable for you if you haven't tried him? I think Chen should get in touch with more different types of men so that she can make comparisons and have the experience of selecting. Only then can she have a clearer standard for choosing a partner in the future." Wu Jiasin immediately sent a voice message to refute Yang Zhuoling. "Xinshen, I also strongly support Chen dating the opposite sex. But the question is, do you know the character of Mo? Ling, it's obvious that he's interested in Chen. I'll dig out his information first so that Chen can refer to it." The two of them spoke one sentence each and started a heated discussion in the WeChat group. Regardless of Mo Yen's mentality,李漾晨knew that she had no feelings for him. As for the type she liked, the sunny and clean face appeared in front of her, she smiled bitterly, ignored the arguments of her friends and exited the chat interface. After experiencing her first love, she knew what childhood sweethearts were, what youth was like a dream, and what a long-distance relationship was. In the end, it didn't come to fruition, perhaps it was because they were not destined to be together. After Mo Yen finished his phone call with李漾晨, he called his assistant. "The U Education Group financing plan that the marketing department reported to me last week, please sort it out and send it to me tomorrow." "Okay," the assistant on the other end of the phone replied after a moment's hesitation. "Didn't the boss say last week that he was not optimistic about the development of online education platforms? Why does he want to see the plan again?" But he didn't ask the reason. He was familiar with his boss's style of doing things, no action without profit. There must be a reason why he suddenly wanted to look at the plan. Could it be that the country has issued a supporting policy? After hanging up the phone, I was afraid that I would miss the relevant national policies, so I quickly took out my iPad to check industry information. What the assistant didn't know was that his boss was sitting in a beachfront villa drinking ice wine with an ambiguous look on his face, as if he was planning something. At noon the next day,李漾晨received a call from Mo Yen, saying that his company had a financing project and needed her help to do a trial online education platform. As soon as李漾晨heard it, he knew it was the online school that students often talk about. Yes, it's a potential investment project of the company. Ms. Lee is a teacher with rich teaching experience. Please help me see the practicality of this platform so that I can refer to the feasibility of investment. Li Chen is no stranger to this kind of extracurricular tutoring courses. When she was a graduate student, she taught on a well-known online teaching platform in China. Although she is currently teaching offline at school, she is also interested in understanding the online teaching method, so she agreed. Mo Yen made an appointment with her to meet tomorrow afternoon and would arrange for a driver to pick her up at her house at 5:30 p.m. The next day, at the appointment time, Li Chen walked to the gate of the community and saw Mo Yen's driver standing next to a business Mercedes-Benz. Li Chen walked over, and the driver respectfully called her Miss Li, opened the door and let her get in. After the vehicle started, she thought the driver would take her to Mo Yen's company, but 30 minutes later, they arrived at a luxurious garden villa area, Luyuan. Luyuan is a top private club. Each small villa is a private restaurant that can be used for dinner or meetings. There are also many entertainment facilities in the park for guests to have fun. She had seen Luyuan's advertisement on TV before. The driver stopped the car at one of the villas and immediately two doormen came over to open the door, welcome. After Li Chen got off the car and walked into the villa, a man who claimed to be the butler came out and took her to the private room on the second floor. At the door of the private room, the housekeeper smiled and said, Ms. Li, go in first. Mr. Mo is meeting with a client in the multifunctional conference room in Area A. He will be here soon. Li Chen said thank you to the butler and walked into the private room. After entering, he looked around and took in everything inside. The European-style decoration is fresh and bright, and the wall opposite the door of the private room is made of floor-to-ceiling glass. It is midsummer, and the sunset in the evening is not as hot as in the afternoon, becoming soft but not dim. Li Chen walked closer to the floor-to-ceiling window. The sunlight shone in from outside through the intertwined green branches, shining on her. She seemed to be shrouded in a layer of golden gauze. Soon, Mo Yen arrived at the door of the private room on the second floor. When the housekeeper pushed open the double doors, he saw Li Chen standing by the window. Li Chen seemed to notice someone at the door. She tilted her head slightly and turned around. Mo Yen narrowed her eyes slightly, and at that moment, the scene of her standing with her back to the light was as beautiful as a painting. Chapter 12, Just like a man's vague kiss to a woman. After seeing Mo Yen, Li Chen took 2 steps towards the door and greeted him politely, Mr. Mo. Today she wore a white short-sleeved chiffon shirt with black high-waisted crop trousers and small high-heeled shoes, which just revealed a small part of her snow-white ankles. The outfit was simple and neat, but also particularly sexy. Mo Yen narrowed his eyes and his Adam's apple moved slightly. Sorry to have kept Miss Li waiting for so long. Mo Yen strode in, came to the French window, lowered his eyes and looked at Li Chen. The meeting was delayed just now. The man was very tall. Li Chen was wearing 5 centimeters high heels and was about 170 centimeters tall. But when they stood together, her height only reached the man's shoulders. So she looked up at him, smiled, and said, It's okay. Let's eat first. Mo Yen said, then turned around and motioned the butler at the door to come in. Mr. Mo, Miss Li, please take a seat. The housekeeper invited the two to take a seat. Mo Yen reached out to unbutton his suit jacket, took it off smoothly, threw it to the butler, and then sat down. His slender fingers unbuttoned 2 buttons of his shirt, and he turned to ask Li Chen, this private restaurant specializes in Cantonese cuisine. Is there anything that Miss Li cannot eat? Li Chen shook his head, and Mo Yen told the butler what dishes to serve. The butler wrote it down and asked the kitchen to prepare it. Are you going to travel to Country M alone this summer? Mo Yen asked after the butler left. My father works there and I went to see him, said Li Chen. After a while, a graceful woman in Gyeongsam made tea and brought it up. Li Chen picked up the tea and smelled it first. The fragrance was refreshing and did not smell like ordinary scented tea. Ms. Li, what do you think of this tea? After taking a sip, Mo Yen raised his eyes and asked Li Chen. This tea is very good. It should be brewed with some Chinese herbs. Li Chen said after taking a sip. Mo Yen put one hand on the back of the chair and tapped the table with the other hand. He raised his eyebrows and asked with interest, what Chinese herbal medicine? I guess dried tangerine peel and longan were added to the tea. Liang-chen said after taking another sip. You are absolutely right. Our tea does contain tangerine peel and longan. It has the effect of moisturizing dryness and stimulating appetite. It is very suitable for drinking in summer. The beautiful tea artist said with a smile. Mo Yen made a gesture to the beautiful woman, who nodded, bowed, and walked out, closing the door behind her. You are also familiar with tea art, right? Mo Yen looked at her and said. Not really. I talk a lot in class, so I usually like to drink some tea that can soothe dryness and open my voice. After Liang-chen explained, he thought about the reason for coming here today and asked, is the online education platform that Mr. Mo mentioned yesterday already online? Have you heard of Uosu Education Group? Mo Yen said after getting up and pouring her a cup of tea. Liang-chen nodded. She knew that Uosu was a training institution that provided extracurricular tutoring for primary and secondary school students. Some students who were not able to keep up with their studies had also gone to this institution for tutoring. Last week, the company received a financing plan from them. I'm quite interested in it. The marketing department has also done market research before. The country now has support policies for education investment. At present, the long-term benefits are still considerable. But investment has risks, and I'm still considering it. Miss Lee happens to be a teacher, so I would like to ask Miss Lee for some advice. As he said that, Mo Yen took out his mobile phone. I'll send some information to Miss Lee. Is it convenient to add WeChat? Liang-chen said yes. Mo Yen opened his WeChat account, and Liang-chen scanned his QR code, and a WeChat account popped up. His WeChat avatar is a C and his nickname is his name. Liang-chen sent a friend request, which was quickly accepted, and then he received a file in PDF format. When he clicked on it, he saw that a large part at the front was an introduction to the brand Uosu. Liang-chen read through it at a glance. When she saw the brand advantages, the words artificial intelligence caught her eye. It probably means that this online education platform uses expression recognition technology, which can use the camera to capture students' classroom status and emotional data such as raising hands, practicing, listening to lectures, and their emotions in real time. It is then combined with an intelligent practice system based on advanced technologies such as big data and cloud computing to accurately analyze students' weak knowledge points and generate customized learning plans for each student. When Liang-chen was studying for his master's degree, he taught online at another training institution. He was very clear about the advantages and disadvantages of online teaching. The biggest advantage was convenience, while the biggest disadvantage was that he could not see the students and could not understand their level of acceptance. The expression recognition technology newly developed by Uosu is indeed an innovation, which makes up for the shortcomings of online teaching to a large extent. Other brand training institutions do not have this technology yet, so this is a great competitive advantage for Uosu. But Liang-chen had not yet experienced this technology, so he could not say how effective it would be. After watching it, he told Mo Yen, the expression recognition technology is quite interesting. Compared with traditional online courses, it is a major innovation. Mo Yen nodded and then said, yes, this platform has been launched in internal testing, but large-scale use requires more investment, and Uosu wants to raise funds through financing. My assistant will bring the notebook over in a while, and Miss Lee can try it out. At this time, someone knocked on the door. Let's eat first, Mo Yen said, and then responded to the outside. The butler and a waiter came in with a cart and served the dishes one by one. After the butler had arranged the dishes, he wanted to stay and serve. Mo Yen motioned him to go out first and personally scooped a bowl of soup for Liang-chen. Liang-chen took it, and her fingers just happened to touch his slender fingers. His fingers were slightly cold, but the joints were distinct. Just now, when she chatted with him before dinner, it was inevitable that their eyes would collide. Indeed, he really had ulterior motives, as Wu Jiasen said. Even though she knew that she was not distracted, the noble temperament and strong aura of the other party still made her nervous, and she did not dare to linger on his facial features for too long. She began to regret agreeing to this appointment, especially the meeting place was in such a private club. Is the soup not to your taste? Mo Yen saw Liang-chen take a sip, then lowered his head and held the soup spoon without moving. No, it's still a little hot. Chen paused and said after coming back to his senses. During the meal, Mo Yen was very gentlemanly and invited her to eat, but the two of them didn't say much. At the end of the meal, someone knocked on the door. The butler opened the door and a man walked in from outside. The person who came in was holding a notebook in his hand. After coming in, he respectfully called Mr. Mo and then nodded and greeted Chen. "Turn on the computer first, I'll use it later," Mo Yen said to his assistant. After the assistant opened the laptop, he left the room. "Is it the online teaching platform you mentioned earlier?" Chen had already eaten his fill. He wiped his hands with a wet towel and pointed at his notebook and asked, and walked to the table where the notebook was placed. "Yes." Mo Yen saw her leave her seat and stood up from his seat. He walked behind Chen, bent down, and opened the internal test system for her. The warm chest under the white shirt pressed against Chen's back, and a warm current flowed through her body. When he moved, their bodies rubbed against each other, and Chen felt her heartbeat quicken. He stood behind her, looking at the screen carefully, pointing his finger at it from time to time and asking her questions. The breath was too close, so Chen tried to keep his body close to the table and away from his body. She told herself to relax and not to take his presence too seriously, pretending to be calm while communicating with him. However, his broad body was indeed behind her, asking her questions, and his breath spraying on her neck when he spoke was like a man's vague kiss to a woman, making her uneasy. He stood behind her for more than 10 minutes, and Chen felt that her entire back was surrounded by heat.